Good evening. I'm live. It is Thursday night at 9:10. That can mean only one thing and one thing only. It is time to talk about the Indianapolis Colts, the faultless franchise, the lights of our lives. They can do nothing wrong. They make a nice Sunday simple. Would be great ways to describe this team and this franchise, and that is not what it is right now. Joining me any minute will be Nathan to help me discuss these. Um, talk about Sunday. Yes, that will be the start of it. Try and get through that. Whether we actually turn up for a game, and to talk about the Colts in general, because I feel like I am hitting my head on a brick wall watching this team and this franchise. And like I said, joining me is a man who is going to wash all my problems, make the future seem bright, and give me any reason to trust in this franchise going forward. Hello.
Good evening, sir. Good evening. And I'll try my best to do that as well. I think it's going to be hard this week, but I will try my best.
I'm just going to get straight into it because I can probably name on one hand the amount of players who I think deserve to wear a jersey this week after last week's performance. Anthony Richardson's one of them. Jonathan Taylor's probably another, and then on the defense, Kenny, Jalen, and Nick Cross, and they're the positives. They're literally the positives I got. Maybe apart from a couple of good performances, I'd say average to good performances from our receivers. I will excuse everyone apart from Quentin Nelson on the O line. I think it was a very strong learning day for our rookies on the O line. So yes, not a great day for them, but again, 3 rookies, stuff is going to happen. Mate, you know more than anyone. I just can't wait to see the back of fucking Gus Bradley, and it's just methodically crap defensive scheme. And I'll sum up this little monologue with I think the feeling, the coaches, the scheme sum up Chris Ballard's tenure as a Colts GM, and that's no risk, no reward.
Yeah, it's just can you hear me okay as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just complete mediocrity, isn't it? There's no other way to summarize it. And I think like there was a big coin drop realization moment for me in Sunday's game, and it was where we were 3rd and 8 driving, and Shane called a quarterback run up the middle. It was just the most like predictable scenario. It was just like that for me. It was like the nightmare play call, and next thing that's what he calls. And uh, again, it's just that word mediocrity. If Ballard stays next year, I kind of ask myself, like, what are we all in this for?
Yeah.
Why are we going through these emotions and and I mean, I love that monologue, and that's why I stayed completely quiet and kind of didn't cut in any moment. This was a Colts team that, you know, really had a great opportunity to get a really strong victory when the top of the South loses, and
Yeah.
no one showed up.
Uh,
Nobody came to play ball.
it's. I mean, I saw. I think I've got to say, I think it was the Blue Stable pod. They tweeted out a question poll on X. Do you think the Colts can make the playoffs? And it was a 50-50 split over like 600 votes. Yes and no. And I'm thinking, I've got to believe we can make the playoffs. Otherwise, why am I wasting my Sunday evenings watching this team constantly let me down? And then it got me thinking, and it got me thinking more generally about the Colts and the bigger picture. And I was thinking, when my sports teams have been bad, and I'm quite lucky in the sense in that what bad means for me watching a sports team is finishing sixth in the Premier League and winning an FA Cup, or just missing out on the wild card. You know, that feels like quite a luxury to say that at some point. But when I'm saying that we just missed out on the wild card for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years on a bounce, and we're going through 5, 6, 7, 8 different quarterbacks, and we've got a head coach who calls. I think maybe he's over his head, is what I'm thinking.
Yeah, and I didn't know whether to join in with the counting then, because this is year 8.
Yeah.
This is year 8 of Chris Ballard. The Colts haven't won the South under Ballard's tenure. And do you know what? I'm going to go off on a little tangent here. I can't relate to following sports teams that have success. To anybody who's watching, I'm a Newcastle United fan. We haven't exactly had it easy until 3 years ago, or maybe when I was very young. Now, I was talking to my dad actually, and he kind of said, he's not into American football. He's like, I thought the Colts were good. Because growing up, like even as a casual, Indy was always there or thereabouts, and I kind of had to explain that we just haven't been really a team you can take seriously for 8 years. And again, I'm just going to go back to that word, I think, of mediocrity, and kind of like, this is a multi-billion-dollar business and league. Like, what does Jim Irsay get out of this? What is he seeing when he evaluates the season? And he's kind of, let's be honest, Colts fans' TVs turn off usually in January football because we're never there, we're never in the dance.
Yeah.
And what's he getting out of it? I just can't quite understand. Maybe we'll come on to this, and sorry if I'm jumping the gun, but we're on week 12, playing the best team in football right now in many people's power rankings, and we have a tight end who drops probably the easiest catch I've seen Anthony throw all year. It was perfect.
Yeah.
And then a few plays later, doesn't even know where he is on the field during a 4 verticals call that's going to him. He did, like, what are we following right now, Harrison? Seriously, tell me, try and answer that question. What are we following right now? Because I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to, and this is something for me that has been missing since maybe Chuck Pagano, and that is there is just no leadership in that locker room.
Nope.
Like, players have been paid big, and they've gone, fuck this, I've been paid, I don't care. I'll request a trade. If I don't request a trade, I'll just get paid out on my contract. The only person who feels like he wants to play for the Colts, there's two that, well, Anthony Richardson, Josh Downs, and Jalen Jones, I feel like are the only people who show up week in, week out. And it's just like you say, mate, it's just a mess. I think I said on the group chat just before the game, I said, performance over result tonight. We're playing a very exciting and very good Dan Campbell Lions team. I didn't care. I wouldn't have cared if we lost 21-6, but we played our fucking skin out and we just got
completely
beat.
agree. Yeah, completely agree.
And for almost the first half, I'm like, I was annoyed because they were there for the taking. And we would shit the bed Shane. Like, he honestly, mate, I've literally gone through my notes so many times for this show because I'm like, there's so many people who I wanted to. I was like, this just sounds like an Arsenal fan TV monologue of just clickbait bullshit. But so many times, I'm like, he puts together this aggressive drive and motions receivers and clever plays, and I'm just like, and then we go run, a run. Oh, guess what's coming next? It's a run. Oh,
yeah, I mean,
3rd and 15. Let's throw it 40 yards.
I mean, this year, Shane's kind of come out of the gates hot a few games. The first drive is just incredible, and it's, I think exactly what got him, the Colts head coach job. He is a genius play caller at times, and then there's just periods in the game where, we said this last week, we've said it a few weeks. I just think that whole roster just takes its foot off the gas, and starting with Shane, as he likes to remind us so much in every single press conference. Nearly every answer is, it starts with me. Yes, Shane, it starts with you. And going back to your run calling comment there, what the hell has happened to this O-line when it comes to running lanes? Taylor is getting nothing. We're getting stuff for like maybe 1 or 2 to 3 yards on most running plays, and we just seem to not get into any sort of rhythm. And to think of the pressure that puts on a 22-year-old quarterback who, yet again had touchdowns and over 150 yards taken away from him to sloppy penalties. We're in week 12. What's going on with this team?
It's the same old crap in it. And I will say this: the referees were just fucking atrocious, and I don't mean they screwed us, they were bent, they were corrupt. I just think they were bad, and it goes to my point, and I think this is actually a sporting epidemic at the minute. Is you'll know because like you watch Premier League football just like me. This letter of the law fucking bollocks, and it's inconsistently applied at the letter of the law, because you're telling me Alec Pierce causes an offensive pass interference for trying to just not be in the way.
Lifting the hands up, trying to make himself small to avoid. Yeah, just a terrible call.
But then I'm watching every Lions offensive snap. There's a false start. Hey, I know I don't expect him to get everyone, but you can't go letter of the law. And we got away with a couple. I was like, Jesus, it's not called that one. As a refereeing crew, if you go in letter of the law, it has to be letter of the law all the way through, every play, every snap. If it's not, then you can't do that, and you just have to ref on fields. But again, off season, the referees were nowhere near the reason we lost that game, but they were just, I hate it. Just the whole letter of the law thing just absolutely kills any momentum, spirit of the game. Right, before I go on, and just like, on forever about the front office. Let's talk a little bit about the actual game, and then we'll get back to the front office because I'm not done with them. Anthony Richardson had himself a day. Had himself a day. I don't care what anyone says. He had himself a day, and he tore apart the best team in the NFL, I think, at the minute in time.
Yeah, you know, and going back to an earlier point, had you know, what was probably 2 touchdowns taken away, and 150 yards of passing, and some of those plays were as explosive as they get. You know, deep third downs or second and longs, and he's just slinging it. You know, and I mean slinging it. And let's talk about those touchdowns that he loses. You know, hits Granson over the top, just a perfect catch, right on the numbers, dropped. And then, you know, Ashton Doolin, shout out Ashton Doolin's been balling all year on special teams, but doesn't know that he has to get 2 feet in. You know, that's a touchdown in my opinion. Doolin's got, you know, crazy speed after catch, and we've seen that twice already this year. And just doesn't get his feet in. And, you know, I think Anthony came under some kind of pressure at one point because the camera went to him and he looked like he was kind of frustratingly laughing, which, you know, he's unlucky that the cameras found that. But, you know, that's what we were probably doing at home, you know, but I guess we're sat on the sofa, right? Yeah.
I've got to say this because it was blacked out on Game Pass, the game over here, because it's on Sky Sports. And this whole new era of punditry that seems to be there has to be something there between the lines. There was murdering Anthony Richardson for being frustrated. He dropped a touchdown. I'm sorry, could we just go back to the days of like Peyton Manning telling Jeff Saturday just to fucking snap the ball? And you know, there should be he should be allowed that to hold people to that accountability. You want it,
yeah.
Media want him to be a franchise superstar. Fucking Pat Twatterfee or whatever his fucking friends call him nowadays. He's like, oh, he can't do this, he can't do that. But when he does it, he can't do that. He can't show emotion. Why the fuck not?
Yeah, and you know, I love that you use the word accountability. You know, this is a head coach who claims to, you know, preach accountability and, you know, benched Richardson for accountability. And you kind of got to think, you know, where's the rest of this accountability? Do you know what Zaire Franklin's PFF grade was for Sunday?
I don't know.
44. 44. And I guarantee you he's on YouTube like we are right now, running his mouth about how he's some sort of leader and, you know, captain or whatever. And, you know, that's the other side of the ball. We don't have a tight end. There's 6 on the roster.
I'm glad that was an excellent segue because I'm glad you got it.
Yeah, I'll leave you go, you know, segues into it. But where are the Colts tight ends? And are we going to see 6 empty roster spots next year?
Do you know what? Like, I am not angry that we got Liatu Latu. I am not. Excellent. He fell to us at 15. Everyone went offense for the first 14 picks or some of stuff like that. I am not angry we got him. He seems to be a good player getting better. And I can absolutely see a great ceiling for that player. But when we come back to it, not trading up for a generational tight end when we needed a tight end in Brock Bowers, it just sums up Ballard and why I won't be staying up till 4 a.m. to watch the draft if he's still in charge of this team, because that was the opportunity. And it's like we saw, was it on All or Nothing or Hard Knocks, whatever they call it, where he tried, was it for Neighbours, Malik Neighbours, he tried trading up?
Yeah, he tried hard to go up for that, yeah.
And I'm just like, but why? The tight end was screaming, he was in our range, he was screaming in your face. I think it was, did he go to the Raiders in the end?
Yeah, he's gone to the Raiders, yeah.
I'm sure we could have worked some out with the Raiders. We could have given Gardner Minshew before the draft, like before he was a free agent.
Minshew Mania for Brock Bowers, straight up trade. Yeah, you're exactly right. And you know, it's just a problem. You know, I saw a stat flying around on X and Instagram that in 2018, the Colts defensive group got 26 touchdowns. This year, up until today, they have 26 catches on the season. That is not being that's not managing a roster.
What do people want Anthony Richardson today?
Yeah, he's like let's look at some of the, you know, there's a comparison in my head that I'm kind of jumping to, right? You look at Chicago this year, you know, they clearly knew they were drafting Caleb Williams. They built a whole offense around him. But more importantly, he's got Cole Kmet there. You know, a safe, reliable blocker, safe, reliable pair of hands. He's gone to the end zone a few times this year. And it just makes me think, why were we not, you know, phone off the hook for David Njoku from the Cleveland Browns at the trade deadline?
Yeah.
We just don't, and I hate to sound this negative because, you know, if the Colts make it to the playoffs, it's been a long time, but you're not going to win playoff games with no tight end group.
None.
That's going to be really hard.
It's not like our tight end one's got injured.
Yeah,
you know, it's
exactly.
Just none. And like we say, you know, obviously the running joke for us is that we love Jack Doyle, and he is God. But that's the fact is, he was undrafted, walked in off the street. He worked his arse off to get above. Was Fleener a second round pick?
Yes. Yeah.
You know, to get above a pretty decent tight end room. Worked his ass and gave everything for the you know, the name on the front of the shirt and not the name on the back. And I think I'm just like, I thought it's just, it feels neglectful. It feels, I mean, let's break it down, all right? So, current first rounders playing for the Colts, Buckner, who we traded for and didn't draft.
Yeah.
Anthony Richardson.
Yeah.
Quentin Nelson.
Ryan Kelly.
In his last games, might not see him again this year, potentially.
Latu, of course.
Latu and Quitty Pay.
Yeah, that is it.
That's it.
In 8 years.
8 years, and that's not even 8 first-round picks.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
And then, I mean, we've obviously got a lot of second and third rounders, but that's because Taylor fell to us. That's because Michael Pittman fell to us. Do you know what I mean? This has not been like people like, oh, Chris Ballard's done it. He's worked his magic. No, he's just done nothing.
And you know, I think it's a great point you make, right? Because going back to your point of, you know, why would anyone stay awake on draft night? Like, if Ballard's still in a job come April and we're picking around the 20 to 24 mark, we're trading that pick. 100% we're trading that pick to pick up 2 seconds. And like you say, why would you stay awake for it?
Yeah. And it just, and that has actually segued me into the next point brilliantly, because for me, that's where the bleeding started, and that's what's bleeding into Colts fans just not being asked. For 8 years, you've had international Colts fans saying, I think, go back and look at Twitters, and it's actually a bit of like a well-known joke that international Colts fans be like, I'm not staying up, Ballard's trading. He's going to trade back. He's not going to do anything great. He's just going to take the best player available or trade back. Which slowly goes to fans in Indiana going, oh, we don't need to watch the draft today. We'll, family coming over for Sunday dinner and blah, 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 blah. And there's a basketball game on, which then turns into, I might sell my tickets to this Lion fan who offering to buy them for $100. Why wouldn't I have? They're not bothered. Why should I be bothered? And the state of the Lucas Oil Stadium this year, mate, it fucking has infuriated me to a point of like, who cares about this team anymore?
And it really makes you. I think there's two sides to this argument, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's of course really disappointing and infuriating, but also, like, let's say in some alternate reality, we live half an hour from Lucas Oil, right?
Yeah.
What are you wanting to go watch that game live for?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it's got to, right? And I think it almost goes to one of the points you made earlier, like, and everybody who's maybe watching now or has watched the old stuff will know I'm a big Shane Steichen fan, but I do think he is possibly in over his head. I don't think he's, comfortable trying to find a direction for this team. I hope I'm wrong. I really do. But yeah, man, I mean, I just don't know. Look, I'd like to think I'd be every game, rain or shine, if I lived anywhere near the place. But right now, I can't really blame people for not wanting to go.
Yeah. And on pay, like, if, you describe it, Indianapolis Colts versus the Detroit Lions, 9-2, Dan Campbell, wow, what a team. The best team in the NFL is coming to Indiana. And I'm sat here now saying that, and I fell flat at the end of that sentence because I know it's just like, I think we were saying before on the podcast previous is after that last game, there felt like there was just a spark. It felt a little bit different. It felt like we could be the nasty, horrible team to do it, to just go and knock these teams off, get a run going, and make a lunge. And it just to me, it feels like they go, the players are going playoffs, but I had a holiday booked in February, so I'm not that bothered.
I don't know if you've seen them, but I've started to see, like, reports and rumors and stuff. I don't know how credible they are, that, this indie team has just become a team that, opponents are just like, we've got the Colts today. We could just go smack them about in their home stadium and fly home.
By our own fans.
Yeah, and you look at our last stretch. We've got to go to Boston on Sunday. Try call that game. I'm really intrigued to see how Vegas calls that game and see what the spread is. And there's people out there who are saying, Indy's gonna, walk its way into the playoffs. We've got to beat the Jags and Titans, which right now we're not very good at doing. And we've got to beat Chicago, who just I don't know if you watched the game just now, just narrowly lost to Detroit by awful game management by Matt Eberflus. But yeah, it's not going to be an easy, walk to the dance, and I think it's going to be very hard to predict it.
Yeah, we'll talk about the defense now a little bit, and then we'll get on to just like a few general points to end out the show.
Sorry, mate. My headphones just died. I missed a lot of that.
You okay?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah. So we'll talk about the defense now, and then we'll round out the show with just general chit chat and where that we go from here. I thought Gus Bradley was playing for potentially a head coaching job, and we was turning the corner. I now realise we was just relying on individual brilliance to shut down. My biggest problem is Grover Stewart, DeForest Buckner, Liatu Latu is a fearsome front three. He's got Latu dropping back into pass coverage when he's a pass rusher. That's his speciality. And I don't know if Grover and Buckner were feeling an injury or just not 100%. We're definitely not going to hear any information like that after the game from now on because of what happened in Texas. But they seem to be in the game hardly. And I'm just like, we're rushing 4 and you're dropping one of them back into man coverage. Like, why? I just don't know if you can explain it to me if I miss something or.
I'm gonna explain it in a weird way, maybe. So hear me out, right? Watching Detroit in the red zone was like watching someone play Madden, where you kind of know that, like the halfback toss play, which is not what they call, but if you're familiar with Madden, you know that play kind of gets you back around the edge, right? And we were kind of laughing last week. Will we see a big man touchdown? And how creative is Ben Johnson gonna get? Gus made him go to probably play one. Give ball to my best back. Oh, he scored 2, so I'll just give it to David Montgomery instead. The same play, Well, Monty's was, more kind of central, maybe zone running, whereas Gibbs was just jogging into the end zone on 2 occasions, and as you say, it's just not good enough. But again, talking defense, and I'll put the question to you again: if Gus Bradley isn't sacked at the end of this year, what are we here for? what are we meant to be cheering? It's a scary thought.
You're right. You are absolutely right. Ben Johnson, who is going to be a head coach next year, deservedly so. He went, okay, you're going to sit off in coverage every play. You're giving me 4 yards. I'm going to take 4 yards. And
with, the best 1-2 punch in the league in Sonic and Knuckles, And I just had to get that reference in there.
And Gus Bradley, every defensive snap went, do that again.
Yeah.
Do that again. It was sort of like, I'm not going to blitz. I don't get it. Like, it's mental to me that Gus Bradley is the only person in the NFL who doesn't know how to defend a run.
Yeah, and
the stats through the first 3 games of the season should have been enough to get anyone sacked.
Yeah, I agree.
Should have been enough. Like, if I turn up to my job and they're like, oh, well, you're the worst at this, you're the worst at that, you've been this way for 2 years, it would be see you later. But I don't know what it is Gus Bradley has. I don't know. Like, yeah, honestly, mate, I'm just so baffled as to why. Yeah. This is a bit of a callback to when we were doing this earlier, and Robbie will love this if he sees it. I didn't think it could be worse than Matt Eberflus. I genuinely didn't think it could be worse than Matt Eberflus, and
I think the difference with Flus was like we played disciplined defense, right? And it was defense that was centered around takeaways, especially with number 53 playing, right? The difference with Gus Bradley is just the almost nothingness that's on the field. And you've summarized why that is pretty well. But yeah, this front office needs to get not only creative with its GM hire, but with its DC hire too.
Yeah, see, to move on to the final part then in front office, because this, for me, is the biggest talking point at the minute. Because this, for me, is where it all lies. Ed Dodds might be a really nice guy, might be really good GM. I don't know. I just think sometimes you just need to purge the building, because getting rid of Chris Ballard and appointing Ed Dodds is like getting rid of Jared Goff and appointing Matthew Stafford. Or the wrong way around, but you get my picture. It is just too light for light. They've worked together for too long. It just wouldn't sit right with me. But then again, that's what the conservative calls just. Surely, Irsay and Irsay and daughters, are not happy with this. Surely.
Not at all. And I mean, you look at, Washington, Minnesota, they hired, young GMs who, have kind of radically changed the way things are done. I know we've kind of given McAfee a hard time on here for a few weeks, but when he was going on his rants recently about what he's heard over the last few years, like people missing practice, missing meetings, missing walkthroughs, being late to everything. Like this is, like I said, this is professional sport.
Yeah.
Like why is Ursay and co allowing that to happen? Yeah. Just what's going on? Peyton's not there to sling it to 88 or to Reg anymore. Like those days are gone.
Yeah, it's long gone then.
Yeah.
Like you say, that's happening. This for me is where it comes down to Chris Ballard, and it's just neglectful and just flat out bad at your job. When you are allowing players to do that, you should be, as the GM, if the training facility opens at 7, you should be there at 6:30, stood there at the door, welcoming players in. Yeah, welcome. Right, it's now 7:01. You're late. Why? That was $2,000 of your wage gone. I just, I love Michael Pittman, but he runs a farm. Why the fuck are you running a farm during the season? I like Zaire Franklin and EJ Speed. Why the fuck are you on a podcast during the season? Regardless of where you stand on the Great Civil War between McAfee and Zaire Franklin, why the fuck are you on a podcast? And even for me, I know Pat has pull and is driving media traffic in Indy and trying to make Indy bigger. I get that. Why? Why is Shane Steichen? Why is Jim? Why? You're going on his show. I get it. He's a friend. You're doing him a favor, but no, you've got a season to prepare, Horshain, and you're going on a podcast. Like, I'm so baffled as to why the concentration seems to be anywhere else but the on-field performance.
Yeah, you're exactly right, and I do think that's going to come to a slight change. I was kind of watching a little bit of McAfee where, you know, he's even kind of said as well, like, you know, why they're kind of turning him into the enemy when, you know, he's in like a 100 grand suite, and, you know, he kind of stayed in Indy when ESPN offered him, you know, big bucks to leave. Like, I think we'll see a big change there, but, you know, hopefully whoever comes into Indy is going to change that culture anyway, and kind of say to people, like, if you want to go on YouTube, maybe you should be a YouTuber. Like, you're not going to be, you know, the Z linebacker of the Indianapolis Colts, you know.
Off season, go ahead, do whatever you want in the off season. But like I say, you know, I know this sounds horrendously harsh, and it's obviously not a working farm; it's just a domestic farm. But you know, Michael Pittman running a farm, he's also a dad. So that's all of a sudden three things you split. You know, three things you split between during the season. I'm just like, it is just amazing to me that Jaguars and the Titans are in such bad positions, but we feel like we're in a much worse one. And again, to the McAfee thing, like, I just would have been happy if McAfee came out and said, listen, I'm a fan, I got heated, I talked when I was emotional, I think it was, he can't do that, blah, blah, blah. But then just like, I don't know if it's Sire Franklin and his production team, or it was just his production team that used that clip or put McAfee's face on that clip, because you don't put his picture on it. You can say, no, it wasn't aimed at you, but you've put his picture on it. So then Pat's like, well, hold on a fucking minute, rightly so. You know, I'm a fan. I'm allowed to say what I want to say on my YouTube show because I've put in the, you know, we say it because we pay our fees. He say it because he was a former player who stayed in Minneapolis. The great Peyton Manning fucked off to Denver as soon as he could because we cut him for neck operation. So it's just mental to me, mate, that like it's just fucking, it's a dumpster fire.
It's bad, yeah. And I think it's only going to get worse if the current coaching staff stays. Maybe outside Shane, but yeah, this is going to get worse.
It's one of them, mate, and like I like doing this for fun. I enjoy doing this for community talking. You know, it's great chatting to fans. We get to chat to people all over the world and other fans of other teams and have a laugh, have banter. That's what sport should be. But it's getting fucking hard to do it when it's this. It's not even that it's bad. I can deal with bad. It's the fact that it's going around in circles. It's like that fucking Mario level on the old Game Boy, where if you didn't choose the right path, you just went back to the beginning. And it was just like a fucking loop until you got it right. And I just, at some point, the problem is, it feels like nobody wants to make a decision at any level in any room. Somebody has to.
Yeah, and you know, are we going to see a radical decision like that in the remaining games? And you just really can't see it with this current Indy team. And I think it'll be popcorn time if Ballard does stay, and you know, we get to see the famous post-season interview. I'll be tuning into that with a notepad ready for, another year of post-season content memes. But yeah, let's move on. Let's try wrap this up. And well, what have you got in store for the outro?
Two things. The negative, and if this clip, well, somebody clips this and it makes it to Jim Irsay somehow, some way, somewhere. I really wanted that Indiana Knights jersey when it first came out. I really like that jersey. I think it's awesome. And I'm not buying one because every time I watch us, every season I see that jersey, I'm like, ugh. That is my reaction, because it is just a tainted jersey with it's a shit football team. But the outro, okay, coming up, like you say, we go to Boston, a place we famously hate because we shit there. So I don't know. I'd honestly, mate, I put so much into not going too hard on this episode about how bad it is that I think I'm in the position where I just want performance. I couldn't give a fuck about the results. I just want performance. If just don't get a flag, don't get a penalty. We essentially had we had 2 touchdowns, potentially 4 sets of points, field goals / touchdown, wiped off because of penalties. That's us winning the game against Detroit.
Yeah, beat ourselves, literally beat ourselves.
And I don't know. I mean, mate, if you've got anything, take it away.
So I do have something, right? This is a New England team who entered the season kind of, the laughing stock of the league, really, in terms of, the wide media. And, Drake May's now come in and, really stepping up. He looks like he's, the real deal. And I say, you could kind of take this clip of me and, put it in an episode of some sort of soundbite or something. But, Gus Bradley's Colts defense is coming to town. And I just think that we have got to see dramatic improvement in play calling, and especially the run game, because I can personally see May getting a pretty big night, especially stats wise. He's probably going to get a lot of easy completions and a score or 2 on this defense, no doubt about it. And again, it's Boston. We never want to lose in Foxborough, and I can't predict this one. It's going to be maybe a field goal in it, I would say, either way. But this is crucial for this Indy team, and we're in must-win mode now. I'd hate to see kind of what it does to an already kind of topsy-turvy locker room if we lose on Sunday, because then we're out of it. You'd have to think Denver's way too good, especially if they beat Cleveland this weekend. We're out of it.
Yeah, I think it's well, if you lose, it's draft season, isn't it? It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
Okay, I do remember what I wanted to sort of end on. And it's just 2 things. I promise I won't keep you much longer.
No, it's fine, man. It's no rush. I didn't mean it like that.
Yeah, no, it's just I am aware. I can go on. The first thing is, and this for me, is the difference in good and elite. So for me, I know of a youngster playing for Arsenal called Ethan Nweri. You might know of him, Nathan. He's the next Bukayo Saka, essentially. He's 17, turns 18 soon. He played against who did we just beat 3-0? I can't remember the team, but he came on and he scored the third goal of the century. Arteta's been criticised loads and heavily for not playing him more and more. He needs to play more. He needs to play more. Martin Odegaard's out playing. This was the quote from Arteta, which I think Shane Steichen's not getting when he says it starts with me. That's well and good, but Arteta says, no, we build in brick by brick. We put the brick in. Now we put the cement in. We let it dry before we even think about putting another brick in. If you just put brick, you fall, it's gone. If you put too much cement, it's gone. So it's my choice as a manager to put brick and decide when them bricks come and when the next step is. That quote, or close to full quote of Arteta saying that about a youngster, one player on his team, to Shane going, it starts with me. It starts with me. It starts with me. Like, okay, so when are you fucking starting?
Yeah, we're on week 12, Shane. Like, where do we get to see you,
That for me is the difference in, that is how that's leadership, right? And you might have an example with Eddie Howe in your team, and my best example for Eddie Howe is having his assistant manager take all the limelight away from the whole team by being a knob. And it's such just a whimsical thing, but all of a sudden nobody's looking at the team. Nobody's looking at the 18-year-old who missed a sitter because your assistant manager went to shake someone's hand first. Fucking genius. Arteta putting up Ivan Toney's tweet from years ago on the TV in the locker room. I just want to see a bit of that in it. Jose Mourinho telling John Terry and another player going to go down, both of them go down because only one of you can go off. Like, just where's the creativity, where's the initiative, and where's the leadership? And that was my point. And you bringing up Drake May, I think it's a good point to end the show with this, and we'll put it out there. Who's going to finish with more overall? Who's going to finish with more all-purpose yards? Drake May, Anthony Richardson, and we'll put the polls out on the socials and get that going.
Sounds good.
Well, yeah. So, who do you think? And have you? I mean, I know you said you'll find it hard, but have you got a score prediction?
Look, if Indy can clean it up a bit, then I think we're on to seeing a pretty impressive stat line again, from Richardson. And I think it's hard to predict New England right now. May's balling out, but they don't really have any other players that kind of make me scared anymore. Feels kind of weird to say that about New England Patriots, but they really don't have a lot of players that kind of scare me. I'm going to put a score out there. I'm going to go with... I know New England hasn't been particularly kicking field goals recently because they always let me down on my field goal accumulator bets. But I'm going to go out there with 24-14 Indy Colts.
I like it. My score prediction is, I think it's a very boring 27-10 to the Colts. And
okay.
I would, and by boring, I mean, we get up early, they get a touchdown just before halftime, like usual, and then we get one, and then it's
back into the game.
Yeah, and then it's and I can just see, I can already write the script for the game because of how consistently just shit we've been. But no, going for a Colts win. You know, I do want to try and be positive. Let's make it to the playoffs. We can do it. We're really not that far away. What annoys me more is my prediction about Houston was right about them falling away when it gets to the the dog days of the year. You know, they're a lot of older players. They don't want to play these, you know, late in the year games, these Christmas games. But on the flip side of that, it looks like we don't want to play any fucking game. So, thanks to everyone watching this. You know, like, find us on all the socials. You know, I am looking at streamlining it, making it a bit more neater and easier experience. You'll find us under the name UkColtsFans. You know, for anyone who's got this far, listening to this about this team at the minute, then fair fucking play. So yeah, I'm blabbling now because it's just that bad. But Nathan, thank you as always. Yeah, so this week's question or this week's poll is who's going more in all-purpose yards. So that can be rushing, passing, whatever. That is Anthony Richardson versus Drake May. I don't even have the energy to do the funny little end clip. But join us next week when the Colts beat the Patriots 52-3.